to our Sunday evening White Hart Lane Weekly show. There's so much to discuss today. We've had, the Arsenal game, the Newcastle game, a torn ACL, Son Heung Min announcing he's leaving. We've signed the number 6, a Levy interview dropping tomorrow, rumours of a stadium sponsor tomorrow. So much going on. But co-host for the show on a Sunday night, I'm alongside Joe. How are you, Joe?
Good morning, good evening, everybody. What a day, hey? What a world we live in football.
Only 6:30 a.m. for you. This is all happening.
That's easy. But losing all your number 10s is not so easy. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
And we have a licensed coach, JJ, voted your favourite guest of the show. Sorry, everyone else, including myself. But yeah, there you go. How are you, JJ?
I'm good, thanks. Hey guys, great to be on with you again.
Doing good, thanks. And of course, our sunny San Francisco in-house tactician and Deej. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to see where we look for our new number 10 because we definitely need to sign one now. We didn't need to before.
Do we want to start with the bad news first? Do you want to start with Maddison or do you want to start with Paulinha? Because both going to end up
starting with Paulinha.
Okay, let's start with Paulinha. JJ and I have just been discussing this one, so we'll start with you guys. But Deej, you've had mixed feelings about this signing. I'm pretty excited. I liked JJ's description of him being a bit like a Wilson Palacios type signing, where he's going to come in and add some steel to that midfield. Where's your head at with him?
No, I definitely think he's going to add steel to the midfield, but I'm concerned. I'm a little bit concerned that that's about all he adds. And that I went back and I watched a couple of his games at Bayern, and I kind of see, especially in the kind of system that company wants to use, where you actually need your midfielders to be able to pass more than semi-competently, that he's not like a fit for that. So I think honestly, based on the way that we've played in the preseason, I think he's actually going to fit our style of play very well. It's just not the style of play that I think is the most fun to watch, but if it wins his games, I won't complain about it.
Joe, what's your initial reaction been? You happy waking up to the news he's official?
I think it's a good signing. I think, especially with other needs, I think it buys us time in that position at the very least. I mean, his pass completion is in the mid-90s, but we know that's because
all backwards,
generally extremely safe. Yeah. But so we have Romero and Porro to do those passes from deep. So ideally we have that midfielder brought in, but maybe Paulinha buys us time for this season to not bring that guy in. I think we can only bring that guy in if we get rid of another midfielder, but now we need midfielders further up the field desperately. So I think he buys us time. I think he will do an extremely good job of breaking up the play. But we also saw Archie Gray do an amazing job at that against Newcastle. I thought he was really good, and Sarr's been good at it as well. So defensively, I think we look extremely strong now. But JJ, what are your thoughts on him?
Joe, I agree with everything that you and DJ have said. He's not there as a progressive passer. He's not there to drive forward with the ball, win it, and drive through the first line and set players off. He's there to break up, mop up, provide a bit of physicality. He will provide a platform. We just talked about this with Jim. Provide a platform for other players to play from. And there is nothing wrong with that. And I think the key that we were talking about before is he is a player that we don't have at the moment. And so there is absolutely nothing wrong with bringing in somebody who we still think can be a high performer in that position. His age is not an issue. He hasn't played a great deal of football for a team that plays a style that doesn't suit him. So, yeah, I think there's absolutely space for him. And we're going into 4 competitions. There's going to be loads of different challenges thrown at Tottenham Hotspur. And Thomas Frank looks like the kind of manager who will get the most and the best out of someone like Paulinha. So for me, positive signing, good signing. And also, it's a loan. So we're not even committed the signing. We've got him for a year. Try before you buy.
The loan makes a big deal. I think that's a big thing because it saves us money to spend now. There's no obligation if he ends up playing the same amount of games as he played at Bayern, then no harm, no foul, really. So yeah, I think all around positive, but doesn't solve everything. But no single player ever would do that. So can't put that on him either.
Do you think that we need to add another midfielder if Basuma's leaving of that kind of mold, guys, like the defensive type, or is it right? We've got Paulinha now. Even if we sell Basuma, we'll make do with, because I want to kind of lead gently onto Archie Gray as we go through this. Or is Archie Gray, based on what you guys have seen so far, is he enough to kind of fill that void a bit if Paulinha is not available?
In my opinion, I think that he kind of has to be because of the holes in the rest of our squad. Because we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have a long-term 10 unless we're content with Odegaard and Tell, or not. We don't have a long-term left winger unless we're content with Odegaard and Tell being the players who primarily play that side of the field. We don't have a starting 10 at the moment unless you think that Sarr is going to take that role. And I think from watching the Newcastle game, you can see that Sarr is good at a lot of things. And I think that being a number 10 is not necessarily one of them, unfortunately, unless we decide we just kind of want to do all of our creative work from the wings, which is something we could do, but I would kind of prefer to have a Maddison type in there. So we'll see what that happens. And Tell is having to start at striker because Solanke's injured, and I guess Richarlison's injured as well. So we also don't really have a long-term striker that can stay healthy. So I feel like there are a bunch of other issues that now that we've signed Paulinha, I think we kind of have to be like, that's it. We're going to have to deal with them and whoever else. And because I think that there are bigger issues in the squad at the moment.
I just want to quickly pause there as well, just to say hi to Sean the Gooner Slayer. Sean as well, Hurl as well. Good to see you, mate. Safe travels for you on your trip. Who else we got? We've got Jordan. Hello, mate. Got Luke. Good to see you, man. I think I've missed. And Stu, good to see you, Stu, and you, DB. So do you guys think he's a shoe-in starter then most weeks? Like, is he an upgrade to the first team or just the squad?
Paulinha or Archie Gray?
Paulinha.
I don't think he's a starter every game. I think it would depend on who we're playing. I think it's been pretty much touched on in other circles that if you want to be solid, he plays. If you want to be a bit more expansive, then someone else needs to play. But in saying that, we don't really have that ball player that sits deep in that picks the ball up and knits everything together and plays, passes and sprays the ball around. We don't really have that. I think Archie Gray was really good last night, but he still wasn't that sort of player. And I think that's the best we've seen him in the midfield, but we haven't seen much of him do that. Biss is good in tight situations. Bentancur is good in tight situations, but no one that really just flicks the ball around. I think we also did see that over these games, in my opinion, that Bergvall is better as an 8 than a 10 as well. I think he's better sort of being box to box. So I think we have a few guys that can do a similar role. So I don't think he starts every game.
Hey, Andres. Hey, Hisu. Hope you're good. They're very worried about Madders. It has been a painful few weeks of losing senior players, hasn't it? I don't think you can discount the fact we've got No Kulusevski, who's one of our most important, you'd say, leaders on the pitch. Maddison's part of that leadership group. Solanke's injured. Udogi's injured. There's been a lot of disruption there. So again, I think that's a good case for Paulinha, though, right? He brings experience in amongst a young team who might be looking for some direction there. And Haley, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Keep ignoring Ross.
Where's Ross? Oh, he's there. Rossy boy. Ross, I'm so sorry, mate. To be fair, in my defense, when you were on the StreamYard, everyone's names are just green and it's very easy to just miss them. And because I use a teleprompter thing, I can only actually see 2 comments at a time. And I blame Sean and Lee because they commented so quickly that after yours got pushed off my screen. So sorry, mate. To Archie Gray, though, guys, what do we make of the friendlies so far? Is there much to read into it?
Go
I
on,
mean, I think
JJ.
he's just going to continue
Oh.
developing. I don't
Sorry,
love
DJ.
reading too much into friendlies, other than, other than like looking at like general like setup. Like I think individual performances aren't super important, but it's nice to see that he's getting minutes, I guess. I think where he's playing now in the preseason is kind of where I'd hope to see him play in the future. I think JJ can probably speak a little bit more on like, I guess be a bit more in depth, because Archie Gray isn't necessarily the player I've been focusing on when watching the games, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy to see him get minutes at this point in like a real position instead of us throwing him everywhere because we have no center backs.
Yeah, I totally agree with DJ's point. It's been, for me, it's indicative where Thomas Frank is using him. So he's using him in the midfield. He's not used him to cover a left back position when Udogie gets injured. He's not using him to drop into, to play minutes at centre half. So he's got his eyes on him. He's put him in midfield. He's giving him the minutes there, which is great to see, because I think everybody wants him to have a chance at that role. So yeah, he's done fairly well. He's done okay. There were some really nice moments in the last couple of games. So him moving with the football, so moving out of tight spaces with pressure on him and with physicality on him. The best kind of test has been these last two games, because they are Premier League opponents. They are genuine rival opponents. And these two games have not been taken easily. They've not been, with 60 changes each team. Both games were approached in a serious manner. So when you're seeing Archie Gray wriggle out in midfield with players all around him, this is what you want to see. Can he take the ball in tight spaces, and can he maneuver and keep hold of it without conceding possession? He's done that okay. Is he reading the game? He did really well in the first half today against Newcastle. He was pushing up. He was being quite aggressive. But then again, we were throwing centre halves all the way up to win the ball in the middle of Newcastle's half. So again, a little bit of that front foot high press that we saw that fell off later in the game. He did quite well. There were a couple of moments where he stepped in. And again, you want to see that. Stay on your feet, hold your opponent up, get in, interfere, and if you can, win the ball and push it back towards the opponent's goal. So all of these things, that's what he's coached to do. That's what a player in his position should be doing. And from that, we can take a lot of positives. It's there. We've seen it. We've seen it against good opposition. Now he just has to stitch it all together. Has to do it over consistent games, consistent performances, which is really hard for young players. And then that physicality will come with it as well. I want to see a little bit more. I know he's got a good long pass on him, but I've not seen anything so far this preseason. I've not seen him doing any of that work. So I just want to see a bit more on that side.
Yeah, I agree that, DJ, you say that preseason games don't mean much, but as JJ just pointed out, that two Premier League teams, especially the Arsenal game, that was pretty intense. Do you think those games actually mean more to the assessment because of the fact that they were so intense? I mean, you could tell with the Arsenal game, Arteta was complaining about time wasting, so he obviously cared about the game in that one. And then you had things like Joel Linton elbowing Archie in the face, and a couple of the older players seemed to be getting pretty frustrated. And so do you think those games meant more, as in terms of assessment levels?
Yeah, I think that I do think that those are like the most important preseason games, but I don't know, especially because of how early it is. And I'll honestly probably treat us going into the season, the first couple of games of the season, is still like a glorified late preseason, just because it takes time for like players to gel with ideas and ideas to gel with players and stuff like that. So I'm trying to give grace to players as they pick up a new system, because obviously the system is quite different than the one we played last season. And also a lot of these players are pretty young, so having to go from like one big like a system to a completely new one, I could imagine wouldn't be the easiest thing. So I do think that these are like, I think if you want to draw conclusions from these games, you can. And like I probably would if I probably would if I like watched the games more in depth. But I think that, yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to make like overarching like ideas from them, but I don't think you can like say like this player's shit because of a preseason game, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Only
Does it
positive,
like
only positive outlooks from preseason games, I think, is what I said in the last podcast. I'm gonna stick by that. So,
Is that it? Is that all you're going to say? You're going to
yeah.
which
I
part are you
think,
mentioning? What, that no one gets injured? 'Cause-
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, like, if like, I'm not gonna make any negative, like, I'm not gonna make any negative judgments on a player. I'm only gonna make positive
Yeah,
judgments
fair.
on players.
Fair
But
enough.
like, yeah, obviously, if a player gets injured, that's negative, and that came out of the game. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, so and so had a poor game, so he's useless, and we should throw him over a bridge.
So we looked defensively fairly sound, I think, and I think. Do you think, JJ, when you're coming into a new club, that you want to cement that sort of defensive structure first? Could that potentially be why we're seeming like not only we're missing the players to be creative, but we're in general not creating too much, even though we have some good chances? What do you think it's more of, that we're trying to set the base first of the defensive line, or that we're missing players, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, I definitely think it's both, but I feel like Thomas Frank, and this is quite common as well, like when you're coming into a new club, you would go for the overall structure first, and the easiest thing to embed is going to be your defensive principles and tactically where people are supposed to be in any given phase of the game. And, you know, Frank has mentioned this quite a few times in terms of the different phases and what he wants from his players. I think he's building the defensive side of it. I very much doubt they've done a great deal of the attacking stuff. I think that I've said this in a previous video on my channel. I think that's the stuff they're going to layer on top of it. And it actually is probably going to take us a little while into the season to really see more than we're seeing at the minute. I think there's general principles there, you know, the big switches and the playing the ball forward very quickly. But at the moment, it feels like Thomas Frank is, let's be hard to beat. Let's set up our defensive system. He's shown his hand. He really is, you know, 4 at the back, double pivot in front, zonal defending in the penalty area when we're defending low block. So all of those kind of things, you can see them clearly. They're being put into effect. They're working quite well. We did really well against Arsenal in the low block when we were clearing everything and, you know, not really under a great deal of, you know, that really tense pressure that you can get against a good possession side. So I think he's starting with that, and then he adds and he layers on top of that as time goes by. The proof is going to be, for him to be a Tottenham manager that we can all get behind, is how good he is at then layering that attacking stuff on top, because we will watch this for a while and we'll like being quite hard to beat, and we'll like the fact that teams don't, you know, run through the middle of us, but we're going to want to see some good football as well.
I just want to quickly read 2 of the questions that have come in the comments here. One from Sean, but one from Calvin, because they kind of touch into each other. Calvin's saying, you know, he's asking the question, do we actually need to buy another 10? If you look at what Liverpool do, they're not reliant on a 10. But then Sean, on the kind of flip side, saying, you know, there are other good options out there, and McAtee and Elliott. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do we need to throw money? Oh, your camera's on the dish. Throw money at another one. Would those names be a good fit, or are we overthinking the need for another 10?
I would be saying we need to sign a 10. The Liverpool, so they played a completely different style to us as well. It was hyper aggressive press, and we press, obviously. You can see from Tal's movement tonight or last night or yesterday daytime, depending on when you were watching it, that he was chasing a lot down, but just they were trying to turn the ball over as high as possible all the time. So they were able to then get their extremely high level forwards, especially in Salah and Mane, in, and they had Firmino, who was extremely creative as well. So they sort of made up for not having a 10 with having Firmino. So I think we do need one. I don't know where we're going to get him from though, with some of the people falling off the board. So someone else can make people feel good about what the options are. I think it's going to be young guys, isn't it? It's really our only option left.
Yeah, I guess, JJ, what do you think? Is it possible to play through without a 10? Can you still make it work? Liverpool seem to do it. So is that because we say they do it without a 10, but then they've kind of got Harvey Elliott on the bench that we're saying would fill our void at 10. So I guess you could argue they do have the players to accommodate it. What do you think, JJ?
Yeah, you can definitely do it. So if for whatever reason, and this will obviously frustrate Tottenham fans no end if we don't sign somebody, but if we get to the end of the window and we haven't brought in another number 10, and with the fact that Maddison's injury looks very serious, we are going to be going into the season effectively having to tweak the system to play a little bit like Liverpool. We're going to have to get very, very aggressive in our pressing. We're going to have to do lots of hard running. And the idea being that you literally run the opposition off the field. We've seen Papsar do really well. He's playing in like at the point of the triangle. He's not a number 10, so to speak, in terms of the profile that he is, but he's played there in a couple of games. He's done well. He's got himself into the penalty area. There will be a lot of people questioning, can you pick the lock? Can you dictate the tempo? Can you control the play against a team that's going to sit in? And those are the moments that your number 10s really come to the fore, right? They either find that pass, or they've got that bit of magic, or they've got the finish at a key moment. Those are the things that remain to be seen. But yes, you can certainly go out there and play smash mouth football and try and, obliterate the opposition, press them into submission, then run all over them and create chances in the penalty area. It will be down to who we've got available at the end of the transfer window. At the very least, we've got a manager who he will adapt. He will change what he does based on who he's got at the end of the window. But my preference is to have a 10. I want somebody in there that gives you, again, something a bit different.
You were describing much of last season there when you said try overwhelm the opposition and smash grab a goal. I thought, oh God, at one point he's having the Europa League final. Someone just said Vinicius Junior to Spurs. Here we go. Go on, Joe. Sorry.
No, it's I think the Paulinha signing, because before Matters going down, I mean, I felt like in these games we were missing that creativity in the midfield a bit, and then Maddison going down, I think it's changed that our desperate need for that ball playing six to we need someone creative, because there seems to be a disconnect between our defense or midfield and forward line. There was, obviously, we just mentioned why in terms of development of the playing style that is happening at this stage. But I think Paulinha gives us that chance to then now change the tactic. And I think they have to really act now and do something, because I think it's not only do we now Sonny's gone, we're sort of tell is, even though he missed that chance going forward, I actually thought it was one of his better games as the centre forward. I felt like he put a lot of effort in. I was ashamed that he didn't stay on and move to the left for Sonny to go off and then bring Richarlison on to sort of see how he did on the left. But I think when we're sort of we're missing something in the forward half of our field a lot now. I don't know. Solanke probably back against Munich, so maybe that changes a few things. But I think we definitely need a 10. Do we think we need another forward player as well, though?
I personally think we do. I just feel there's numerous bits in the field where we're just one injury away from being one injury away from a crisis, if that makes sense. So I think striker's one of them. If you lose Solanke, you go, oh, we've got a couple of players who can cover there. Richarlison firstly. He gets injured and suddenly you're going, well, I've got no one left unless I take another player out of position somewhere else. And then everything starts to get very disjointed. Similar at left centre-back. I think once Van der Ven's injured, which he will be, he can't play twice in a week, so he'll be rotated if he's not injured. You're saying that you're going to put Ben Davies there, and then if he gets injured or anything as well, you're suddenly, you're getting in the position of last season where you're playing kids, putting them under a lot of pressure to play week in, week out, no one to rotate them with. And you're saying, well, Romero, I can't rest you because, you're my senior guy in that team. Otherwise, I've got to start Danso in that position maybe as well. Then I've got no cover from Romero. If he gets too fatigued or injured, it starts to get quite overloaded. I think we're still another senior centre-back, a left wing-back, and a backup forward, and possibly another number 10 away from having a complete squad, personally. But what about you, JJ?
Yeah, I would like to see another forward. I would definitely, like I said, my preference is to have a number 10 style player, an out and out creator, or somebody that provides that kind of option. As you say, we won't feel like we've moved forward in this transfer window between last season and this season if we don't add a couple more players that are first team ready and able to elevate the team. Kudus does that, right? Paulinha is something different, but he also is a player you can imagine being in the first 11. If we don't, we are effectively reverting to last season's team and add a couple of injuries to that, and then we're on the rope. So it feels like we're not moving forward if we don't add that bit of quality. So yeah, definitely defensive cover, a number 10. And I know the name that everybody talks about at Tottenham for the first time for me makes a bit more sense is Eze, because he now is a 10 that can play off the left and likes to drift out to the left. And now with Sonny's announcement and the fact that we know there's 60 million in the bank for Morgan Gibbs-White, if he's amenable to the move, for the first time, the Eze transfer becomes almost a priority, almost one of the things that is really worth doing, as opposed to before, he's just a player we'd love to have. But he's competition for Maddison. Maddison's now injured. So it's one of those things. It feels to me like we are now in a little window of opportunity where you put 60 plus 8 on the table, you go ahead and you get it done if he would go for the move instead of going to that lot down the road.
I do want to quickly address before we jump more into Eze, because I think he's extra relevant, and my Eze desires have gone through the roof since Maddison got injured. But just people asking about the squad, like how we're going to fit all these guys in. Well, at the moment, it's 1 in, 1 out for the Champions League in non-homegrown status, but Son's leaving. Kulusevski can't be registered because he's injured. Dragusin won't be registered because he's injured. I think we're going to probably sell Basuma. Then there's the chance to say, well, Gray's not currently taking up one of those non-homegrown spots yet, so you might leave someone like that out for the first half of the period. I'm not saying we would, but anyway, there's numerous options and ways you can actually still fit these players in, interestingly. So it's not all.
I think also that it's a problem. I'd rather have the problem of not being able to register someone than not having a player for the Champions League and the Premier League, because we don't have the power in the squad to actually play them in general. So I think one's worse than the other. And I think not having players is worse than not being able to register someone because they're upset. It's not good. It's not ideal, but yeah, I think that's the least of our worries at the moment, to be honest, is registration details. We need players in. Yeah,
it's why we need to get the loans right as well. Get the likes. People talk about, Mikey Moore, keep him in there. Well, if you have a Mikey Moore or someone like that who you're desperate to give playing time to for development, yes, you shouldn't go and sign these players and block their pathway. But that's why the loan system is so important. Get these people out playing and bring them back into the first team when they're ready to add value to the first team. I think when you're competing in the Champions League, you're not in a position to be nurturing players through their lower Premier League to mid-table and Championship phase of their development. You need to give that to someone else and make it an opportunity for them to go, well, I'm getting a really good player for the level of club I am, and they're going to play every week rather than coming to Spurs and being a kind of League Cup rotation option or a break glass here in case of emergency. One's going to be a lot better for their development typically than the other, right? Well, guys, do we want to move on a little bit? We've got some more commercially stuff coming up. We've got a Daniel Levy interview dropping tomorrow. We've got rumours of the stadium sponsor coming next week as well. Do you want to start with the Levy interview? Supposedly of Gary Neville, no golf course this time. Anyone expecting, Joe, you expecting much from that one?
I just find it weird that it's Gary Neville, to be honest. It's just such a weird choice of person to do it. I know he's got a big platform, but for someone who's been doing it for so long, his interviewing skills haven't really developed that much. Hopefully he doesn't ad read mid interview too, and that can be a bit of comedy gold on that one. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. It'll be good to have an interview. and see what he has to say and what it's going to be like. But yeah, I don't know until we see it, do we? We don't know what it's going to be, that kind of thing. So someone else might have thoughts before it that's a bit more interesting than that.
I'm actually now reading the comments thinking, why did I dive into Levy interview? And we could still discuss Eze in more detail. And Enzo Milot,
that's fair,
who's actually important. People are interested and could actually come signing. Maybe we should jump back to and can we just swiftly gloss over Grealish? Like, is there any point? Anyway,
his wages are a lot egregious. That's pretty much it. His wages are a lot.
And I don't think we'd sign him permanently.
Yeah, there's that too.
He's not of the age profile. He's not the age profile that we would want to be signing. Which
just feels a bit like a slightly better Werner loan.
Yeah. If it was Grealish from like 4 years ago, I'd have a little bit more time for it. But I don't think he's done much since his time at City to show that he's worth. Like he might be fine, but I feel like we should be aiming for a bit more than fine at this point, especially to replace somebody like Son. Like it'd be different if we needed like a backup. Like if it was Grealish as like someone who comes in and plays like 5 games as like a vibes guy, then I'm fine with that, I suppose. But I think that for like, because we need someone, unless Tell takes like a massive leap this season, we need someone to start a lot of games. I don't think Grealish is that guy.
He would be, I think he'd be fine if it was sort of last day of the window and other things hadn't worked out. And we're like, right, we've got to get someone in. Let's do a loan and split his wages with City. Because he's on like over 300K a week, I think. Like we could pay that amount of money, but it's just who we're paying that amount of money for in terms of return, I think is a lot. So I think depending on how he comes in would be if it was a good move or not. But if we don't have anyone there and we need someone, then yes, I'd still take him, but not as our first choice.
JJ, would you take Grealish?
Totally agree with that last comment from Joe. Last day of the transfer window. I mean, I don't know how much money we earn from social media, but you could imagine the vibes with Maddison and Grealish in the social media room. But apart from that, on the last day, if for whatever reason you haven't brought in another number 10 option, another creative option in midfield, he is, again, he can play off the left-hand side, and he is, to all intents and purposes, he's a number 10. That's his true position. So, yeah, he would fill a gap. He could play a role. He could do a job. He's still an excellent footballer if he's up for it. If he's up for actually playing, he's still a fantastic technician. So you could do it on the last day of the season, but I absolutely wouldn't waste any energy at this moment in time, other than a quick note to his agent. Would he come? Yay or nay? We'll see on the last day.
So for you guys, I'm assuming it sounds like Eze is the like JJ, you touched on it before we kind of, some weird, bizarre reason I shifted us to a Levy chat. The prospect of him seems far more appealing given Maddison's injury now, because he's a 10 who can also play on the left. And with Paulinha, I guess Gibbs White, my understanding of him, his strengths were he was slightly more capable in a deeper role coming back than Eze or Maddison's strengths are. But with Paulinha, maybe it mitigates the need for that so much. Is he everyone's first choice? Do you think Spurs are going to up the ante on him now? Do you reckon, Joe? Go get him?
I kind of feel like he's not my first choice because I don't think he's coming. It's like chasing a girl that's already in a relationship in a way. I kind of feel like it's over, even though it's just rumors. Like I don't think there's anything concrete saying that he is going to this team. It's just people are saying that's where he wants to go. I mean, Real Madrid do these things, don't they? Where they just say that the player really wants to go there when it's who knows if they do. It kind of like they control the narrative, and maybe Arsenal are trying to do that. They're trying to control the narrative, but I kind of just don't see it coming off as a transfer. So I'm not sort of not wasting my time, but spending my time thinking about it. As a player, I think he would fit perfectly for what we need right now. And with players coming back from injury, I still think he fits into the team and the squad. But yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Eze Sport at Arsenal says Liverpool. I get that, but I don't know again. I know we don't want to believe it, but there's receipts. There's pictures of him in an Arsenal shirt and Arsenal parade, but I think he grew to hate them, so all was forgiven. JJ, is he your top choice?
Yeah, I saw someone in the comments obviously has mentioned, is it Milo or Mio? I just don't know enough about that player and their strengths. So I'll have to dive in and have a little look. But as somebody that we've seen for many years, and we've also watched the evolution, so watched him when he made the move to QPR and what he was doing and where he's come from, he is absolutely, he's got Tottenham style written all over him. He is the player that we would love to have that goes in line with all the other, creative players that we've had in our midfield over the years. He can also play, like I just explained earlier, why I think he's come to the fore now, and he's more of a viable option for us. But he can play in any of the three positions, wide right, wide left, and number 10 in the middle. So he provides multiple options. He can play in different positions, and then you can use your squad in different ways with him. Yes, predominantly left-hand side coming in and creating. But if you need to put him on the right and you want to put Kudus on that side and stretch the left-hand side, depending on who's available, there's loads of stuff you can do when you bring in a player that's that adaptable in those front three positions. So, yeah, I'd love to see it. I can't think of anybody else who's proven in a similar league that would do the same kind of job. So, yeah, I'd love to see it.
Did you see your number one, or are you going to take Sean's suggestion here? Touch on that as well. Christian Eriksen's on a free. Take him on a 6-month loan just to fill the void? Or is that long gone?
I don't think that... I mean, even when he was playing with United, I think Eriksen was playing in a more as a deeper role. I guess part of that could have been because they were trying to play him with Fernandes, but then I guess they also just play like a weird system, back three, gross. But I think I think it is. We as a club have moved past the need for Christian Eriksen. I think if it was Christian Eriksen from 2015, 16, 17, yeah, bring him to my club. But I don't think the current iteration of Christian Eriksen is one who will massively raise our ceiling or our floor. So I'm not. And in terms of number one target, I honestly just don't think I've done enough research on anybody outside of, like, I know Eze is good. Like if you were to say like you were to ask me right now, I'd say yeah, just because I know that Eze is like a good player, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other good players like the one from Leicester City, Bilal Al-Khanous, I think it is. He's one that's been his name has been thrown around. The Milot guy has been thrown around a little bit as well. I think there are plenty of talented players that honestly, most of the reason I'm saying this is because I don't want to get clipped up if he goes to Arsenal. But yeah, I mean, obviously I'd love Eze, but I don't think he's like a mountaintop clear number one choice for me. For part of the reason is because of what Joe was saying, where it's like he did seem to be poised to go somewhere else, but stranger things have happened. We signed a player and then he stayed at his club, so yeah.
Just a quick shout out to Greg. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, Greg. Good morning to Bad Nasher, and good morning. Well, it's Ross again. Hey Ross, how you doing, mate? Let's go for your
Ross
question
again.
here. I'm not sure about the ages of the panel. All 25, I'm assuming, but does this show lack a quality of the high players than, say, from 20, 25 years ago? Wait, I need to read that again, Ross. My eyesight isn't good enough. I'm not sure about the ages of the panel. You're saying us? All 25,
We're
I'm
all in our
assuming.
prime. All in our prime.
Well, I'm add a decade on top, mate. I'm well ahead of that. But we're flattered. Are you saying
JJ looks the best for his age?
You say we need to get you on,
That's
mate?
for sure.
Jelly Bean, 10 months a member, and yes, we'll be at the Burnley game with you, I assume. Jelly Bean, you're going to be there. Hope you see you there at the Oso Spurs meetup.
To go back to what the Damsgaard shot. I do think Damsgaard would be an interesting player. I think he's been what was it? The when he first broke out, I think at the Euros. I just remember watching him and thinking he was someone that I was excited to see how he developed, and I think he's developed quite well at Brentford. I do think, from what I remember, there are some fitness related concerns with him. That would be my only pause. Not necessarily like chronic injury, but I think they say like arthritis or something. I could be making that up, but I think that there's something there that is.
I think it's the hairline you're talking about. That's
yeah, I think it's that. Yeah, the fact that his hairline is already going can't be a good sign for how much longer he's going to be in his physical prime.
So that's
Damsgaard's a weird one. I always kind of thought he was overhyped, but actually now with the situation, I would take him. So am I getting too desperate?
He does have arthritis, is from what I'm seeing from one guy in the chat. So thank you, Frazzle. I'm taking your word as gospel. If it's wrong, I'm never trusting you again.
And just a shout out to Kem. How are you, Kem? Eve, it's nice to have we're getting the a lot of people who have had a quite understandable break from Spurs. Our regulars, part of the Spurs crew. Everyone seems to be slowly coming from below the rocks now. Maybe it's the new signing and, beating Arsenal, giving people a little bit of a hope and optimism, which I think they should have. Which they should have indeed. Joe, anything top of mind for you, mate? You want to bring up next?
As soon as you put that up, we don't really have anyone. Actually, can we talk about strikers? Yeah. As soon as we talked on, so I wanted to sort of ask DJ and JJ about how they thought Tal played in the Newcastle and Arsenal game. I thought it was tough for him going against some big centre backs as a young guy, but I did see a lot of desire there from him, which is half the battle, I guess. But then he did miss that opportunity when he went one-on-one, but I sort of don't read too much into that one.
I think that was just a Sun tribute for his miss against Manchester City.
Yeah. So how do you think he played in the striker? And I guess, is there any options to bring in someone for our forward line? Do we have to move on Richie to bring someone in, or should we bring someone in anyway? Who's going to go?
I think we will. I want us to get one anyway, but I think we'll wait and see what happens with Richarlison. I would
agree with that. I think that Tell played admirably for the job he was asked to do. I don't think he is yet physically equipped to handle kind of the requirements of being number 9. But I was a bit surprised, honestly, at some of his hold-up play. There were some points where I was like, that ball is gone, and then he would bring it down, and I was like, okay, this could be workable. But I'm a sucker for like a specific kind of player, but I always a fan of just that big, physically imposing number 9. And I know that not every team plays with that anymore, and you can be successful without it. But a lot of the teams that I grew up enjoying had that player, and that's kind of how I look at the game. And so I'm going to say it's probably personal bias, but I do think we need someone more of a Solanke type, someone who can be more of an aerial threat. I also do think that when Tell got the ball, you could tell he had a tendency to kind of drift out wide, which kind of, I think, gives away the game a little bit as to where he feels the most comfortable. That could be coached out of him, obviously, but I think that for now, I think that his role should be out wide, and we should definitely bring somebody else in, especially with Solanke getting injured again. I'm hoping that this is just a preseason thing. We're just holding him out as a precaution, and that he's going to be fine all season. But especially if he isn't, I think that kind of raises a few more alarm bells in terms of bringing in somebody who will be able to play consistently as a backup, because unfortunately Richarlison is made of glass bones and paper skin.
Sorry, Deej, by the way, when I want to bring up a question that covers your face up, I will fix that in the settings or put someone else in that frame next time. There you go. Sean had 2 questions, and thank you for the donations to the show, by the way, Sean, as always, mate. Thank you very much. One of his questions was around Morgan Rogers, but I think he's under contract to 2030 at Villa, right? I just can't see them selling to us unless the PSR steam train comes along and says, you're in trouble. But I will leave that one out there for you guys. But he also has a question for JJ. Is there a reason, as a coach, JJ, is there a reason strikers don't do that cool thing of rounding the keeper anymore?
It's a really good question because there's a couple of bits. Some of it is to do with the way that young players are training and the finishes that they're using. They've got, there's more finishes being worked on, in my opinion, that they have got at their disposal. There is much more finesse being worked on, whereas before, if you were a striker and you were like, if you grew up when I grew up, which is a long time ago, if you were running in on goal and you tried to finesse a finish over the goalkeeper in certain circles and spheres, and some of us have played some bits, you were getting told, leave that stuff alone. This is what you do in that situation. This is no longer the case. It's changed. So the way players are being coached, the way they're finishing the ball is changing. The other thing for me that is the really big thing is how athletic goalkeepers are. Goalkeepers are much, much more agile. They're better on their feet. They're much, much better at, staying up for a long time and then being very quick at scrambling. So getting across the ground on elbows, knees and hands, as you move around, you should still be able to get around, especially in the situation with Tistel on his right foot with nobody covering his inside. He could have gone either way. He should have scored that goal. That's a real bugbear of mine. I don't enjoy seeing that. The fact that Tell threw the step over, Pope did his thing. He stood there. He's like, no matter what you're going to do before you go to the ball, I'm not going to react to you. So it's great goalkeeping from that perspective. And it threw everything back at Tell, and Tell didn't have it in the locker to then deal with it. His finish was a bit panicked and he tried to just slide it down the side, and Pope read it and he did really well. And Pope is not one of the most agile keepers. He's not one of the best at getting across the ground. So for me, if you were going to go around the keeper with no defender tracking you against Nick Pope, this was your moment. Go round him. But once Pope didn't sit down, Tell didn't, he showed that he didn't really have anything in his mind in terms of the finish. But yeah, it's those two things. It's the way strikers are being coached, but it's also the athleticism of goalkeepers nowadays. But, great players, very often deep lying midfielders, number 10s that run in. They'll be the ones that will go around goalkeepers. But, if there's any kind of an angle, your highest percentage finish is to put it just over the knee, just under the arm, hit it really hard towards the second post. It's a percentage finish. It's the details that coaches are looking at nowadays.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why he was the guest of the year.
There you go. He actually knew the answer to that. I thought you would say it was all guesswork, but there you go. JJ does know everything.
Yeah, I would have been like, that's because, yeah.
Because they don't want to work anymore.
Yeah, lazy. Too much running.
Guys, any other top mind topics?
Sonny.
Sonny, yes.
Talked about Sonny at all, yeah.
Yes, talking of Ali Min Sun's put a comment in there. I assume that's related to our beloved Sonny. And I'll try that next time, Ali. I just need to log out to do that though and change some settings. But yes, I will try that next time. He's had a pretty good send-off though, hasn't he, guys? It's been pretty nice. Like I feel like since the moment he lifted that trophy on that bus, he just looked like we've all been the person after a big night out, where you're just kind of like, whew, sunglasses on, just almost like in shock, just really needing to really hydrate. It's almost like he's just having that big come down moment of like, I worked 10 years for this and I did it. I've done it. And it's been quite nice that it feels like the club's going to give him the choice of saying, if you want to stay, we'll gladly keep you around. And we're lucky to have you in the team. Great. But he's decided that he would like to take on the offer in Los Angeles. You guys feeling about it? Deed's pretty pumped, living in California. He's going to be down there, driving just a mere 5-hour journey to go watch him play each week, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm grabbing season tickets as we speak. No, I might try to get down and see a game of his. Obviously, I'm a big fan of him. He's probably my favorite Tottenham player ever at this point. So it's a little bit sad for me to see him go, but I think it's sad for all of us. But I think I don't know. I don't think you can write a much better ending to the story arc of Son at Tottenham than going out breaking the trophy drought. And so in that way, it's bitter, but it's also sweet. It's good to see that like there were a lot of lows during his time that were very much not his fault, but he gets to send us out on a high.
Joe, what say you?
Yeah, it was. I think you can tell it's been weighing on him. He's obviously made that decision earlier in the preseason, and I think you could tell from the first couple of games that it was weighing on him. He kind of looked like he'd aged a bit, and it's to the relief of sort of going public and being able to not only win the trophy, but to do his goodbye in Korea and then even to give the captain's band to Ben Davis, who's his best friend at the club. It's just, like there's favorite players and stuff like that. He would be in everyone's top 5, surely, of all time. And in my era or my lifetime, I think he goes as the biggest club legend. I can't think of anyone that I'd put above him. Winning a trophy, time at the club, contributions. What I would want to ask, I was thinking about after we sort of get JJ's and Jim, I want your thoughts too on him. Is what was his favorite moment? What are people's favorite moments? So, JJ, what did you feel about Sonny's ending career, time at Spurs? What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, absolute legend. Tottenham Hotspur legend. Write it down, inscribe it, build the statue. He's been phenomenal because he gave something to Tottenham fans and I'm sure this is true of every club, but he gave us more than just being an all-time Premier League great player, all the finishes, 2-footed. He's got the records, but he's got loads of other bits and pieces that make him truly elite in the Premier League era. But he gave us loyalty and he gave us love. And football players are employees of football clubs. Mm-hmm. They don't grow up, most of them, 99% of them don't grow up supporting your club. Even the ones from your academy don't necessarily grow up supporting your football club. Yes, you develop an affinity for a club that you're at or you do really well at and things like that. But he came to Tottenham. He stayed when we needed him. He gave us absolutely everything, whether he was injured, whether he was flying, no matter what. He was humble, but he loved the club. And as a fan, the reason everybody's getting so emotional over the farewell compilations and the clips and everything is because we can reciprocate that. We feel it from him for our football club, and therefore we can feel it back to him. So love him to bits. Wish him nothing but the best in his next steps. I will support him and follow him, whatever he does. I wish he was playing on Thursday because I'm going to be at that game, and I would have desperately liked to see him signing off in Munich against Harry Kane, and I wanted to see him score a goal as well. There was a moment today where he broke into the box, and I thought, step over, come inside and wind it in. But yeah, it's time, and nothing but good memories from him.
And a shout out to some people in the comments who have, I think, highlighted that. Just a little shout out to Ange there on the side for making him captain and being a part of that journey. Because perhaps if we hadn't gone all in the Europa League, we hadn't won it, his legacy would have been very, very different. It would have been, I don't want to think about that because it didn't end that way. But yeah,
didn't happen. I'm curious. I was curious thought experiment. I don't know. Do we think he leaves if we didn't win? Do we think that the Europa League gave him kind of this is a fitting way to cap off my Tottenham career? I don't even know that. There's obviously not an answer to that question because we don't know inside of his mind. But it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Potentially cultural-wise, they have a lot of honor in Korean culture, so maybe it's that he would just stick around until he couldn't run anymore to give us what we need. That's the only sort of thought I had to it, but we don't know, do we?
No. I'm glad that he did get his trophy. So
yeah,
so we don't need to have that conversation.
Yeah, I don't think you can understate it. He was our captain He's a European champion, most clinical player in the history of the club. He had the best smile at the football club. He had the best partnership in Premier League history with our other best player of our generation, with Harry Kane. He signed a new contract when everything was rubbish and Kane was leaving. He put us on the map internationally, not just in career, but I think he re-established Tottenham back in Europe as a great team to watch and kind of helped grow the whole brand. He absolutely roasted Jorginho. The way he celebrated goals was like the fans just felt happy for him as well, not just because there was just this cohesive love for one another. It wasn't just about him scoring. He won the Puskas Award, scored over 125 times, always, like, no matter what the odds were, would turn up against Man City and cause an upset. He scored endless 30-yard screamers. The time where Conte dropped him and he came on against Leicester, that hat-trick in like 18 minutes, ridiculous. I don't think I like those kind of comeback moments you witness a few times in your life from players. Golden Boot winner. Do you remember the whole team, just the whole game? It was like a training match against Norwich. Were just doing everything they could to set Son up for like Golden Boot, and we all loved it and we all got behind it. And he did it. Lifted the European trophy when we ended our trophy drought. I think it was Richard Cratner who said it. He's so right that for our generation, and not for everyone on here, I think we're all similar. Well, for my generation at least, he is like when you see Blanchflower, Greaves, and Klinsmann, all that stepping outside in front of the stadium. I never saw them play. He is my version of one of those people. He is the one that if I go to a game with my grandchild, I'll be like, that Son Heung Min guy, he was like everything. He lifted the European Cup. Don't worry, you'll see a cup one day. Trust me, I thought the same thing when it had been 25 years.
And Son will be so much better than he was too, in your opinion, at that time too. Oh, he was the best player that's ever played. All these players are rubbish. So what do you think?
These modern
best moment on the
couldn't
field?
Hold a candle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, best moment for everyone on the field. Of taking away the European trophy lift, just his individual moments. Go, DJ, you go first.
I was thinking about this because I saw this question floating around a little bit, and I think the one that I came to was, I don't know, just him immediately after scoring the last goal against Norwich, where he's just running. And it's just, I don't know. I was just like, Tottenham was and has kind of been since Pochettino left up until even now has been in like kind of a weird place in terms of feeling like happy about the club in a way, but like in those like moments that like he could provide, and I feel like only he could provide in a sense, that there was just like unbridled like just happiness about what was going on, and like he wore it on his sleeve, I think, better than anybody else in the club could. And so yeah, just him, just that final goal where it was just like he had won the Golden Boot, and I mean, obviously he shared it with Salah or whatever, but he still won the Golden Boot, and it's just like, I don't know, at that moment is going to be forever sealed in my brain, along with many other ones. But that's good. That's the one that I think made me the happiest watching and happiest looking back on it.
JJ.
It's so hard. Like, there's definitely a couple of European nights, but for me, Arsenal, pick one. There's a couple, but maybe the rather apologetic chip, little clipped finish, beginning of the second half. We've just steamrolled them under Conte in the first half, on our way to a 3-0 victory and sending us into the Champions League in that first season. And yeah, that little chip, that little dink over, which I'm still not convinced he fully meant it, but he got a good contact on it and it went in the back of the net. And just that moment, that flood, the fact that it was him, everything about it, yeah, wonderful.
Jim, you got one?
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot, but just to be different, I think I'll go for when Conte dropped him, and because I was in the South Stand and I witnessed those 35-yard screamers coming in right in front of my face, and it was just so good to see. where he scored. Yeah, I think the first one was he ran in and scored with his right foot. Then he did the same goal with his left foot, both outside the box. And then I think Kane set him up for the hat trick on the third one. It was just all in 18 minutes. And in the South Stand, we were at the point where the season was, we really needed Son to come back on form. And that moment was just a moment of like, he's back. My word, do we need him? It was, yeah, that was really nice. I like that one.
It's actually weird. I forgot about that one because I was actually at that game. And the funny thing, yeah, I was. And the funny thing about that was he wasn't on form at the time. And me and my wife went together and she woke up in the morning. So they had a dream last night that Son's got a hat trick. And then I was like, nah, it's not going to happen. He's probably not going to start. And then look, that was pretty crazy. That actually happened like that. There's
kind of right.
Yeah, true. Yeah. There's a few mentioned in the chat too, like even just the things like Daly's handshake was just a really enjoyable thing about Sonny. But I think early on in his career with Poch, when he was there was a few winners he got late on. And like there was that one against Wolves with that back heel flick. And I'm pretty sure he did it against Swansea too from a similar position. So that was kind of like that his sort of not welcome to the higher echelons, but he started to sort of make a name for himself at that time. And obviously, yeah, there's the Puskás winning goal, which was pretty incredible. So, but I do like that one where he's again in the COVID years where he scored from outside the box. It was kind of like a chip from like 30 yards where he curled it across and the goalkeeper was in no man's land. That was a really enjoyable goal because it was kind of like just nonchalant. Or against Chelsea when he ran down the wing. And as you mentioned before, burnt Jorginho. There were so many good ones. And just him as a person, what a man. What an absolute man he was. He should be a good role model for everyone to try be as. It's surprising to see someone that's so universally loved around the Premier League. Apparently, he'll go out his way to talk to other players and things like that. And it's just incredible that someone is like that. There's a few people in the world that I think are loved universally like that, even if people barely know them. So good on him for being such a great man.
Well said, Joe. I always think we should wrap up on that nice message, as it's early for you in Australia. Don't know what time it is for Deej right now.
No, it's like
JJ and I.
2:30 JB, middle of the day. I'm right in between.
Dream. But JJ and I need to brace for the horrible Monday morning blues, which you are already encountering, Joe, on your side of the ocean. So,
yeah, gotta go to work.
Yeah. Cool. Well, up the Spurs, and much love to everyone in the chat. I tell you what, was a fun thing in the comments. Let's hear if you're watching on X as well. Just comment it, because I know the majority of you who tune into this actually watch on X. Like 5 times more people do than watch on YouTube, which is interesting. But yeah, what was your favorite Son moment? I think it's a nice one to discuss in the comments. And who's your preference number 10 as well? Based on, and if you don't need one, that's fine. Put that in there too. And Rossi boy, I apologize for my rudeness today and my messing up your comments. We must get you on the next one, mate. Up the Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Up the Spurs.
This bit where I click end stream too late.
Yes.